Hey there, and welcome. If you've ever been on the receiving end of a Karen's outburst, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That entitled, demanding energy can be infuriating and leave you feeling helpless. But there's actually a lot to unpack behind this stereotype. Let's delve into the psychology of a Karen, understand where it might come from historically, and hopefully empower ourselves in the face of such behavior. At its core, the Karen stereotype is characterized by a middle-aged Caucasian woman who exhibits entitled, demanding, and often confrontational behavior. While the term itself may seem lighthearted, the implications run deeper, touching on issues of power, privilege, and systemic inequality. Entitlement. It's like being spoiled rotten as a kid and never growing out of it. These Karens believe they're above the rules. Picture a queen who freaks out if someone forgets to bow. Karens build their identity on feeling superior, and any threat to that, even something minor, can unleash a meltdown. The consequences can be devastating, especially when entitlement intersects with race and class. Throughout history, white women have leveraged their perceived social standing to endanger minorities. The Rosewood Massacre is an example of how unchecked entitlement can escalate into violence. Imagine someone so self-absorbed they can't imagine anyone else's feelings. That's a Karen. They yell, they belittle, and they have zero clue how their behavior makes others feel. It's all about them, all the time. We're all raised in a big, messy world, and sometimes that world teaches some not-so-great lessons. Cultural norms can play a part in creating Karens. Maybe they were raised to believe their race or gender gives them a free pass to act however they want. Sometimes the aggression of a Karen may stem from feelings of inadequacy or insecurity. Karens often lash out to inflate their self-worth. They put others down in a misguided attempt to feel powerful, as a way to manage their own vulnerabilities. The Karen stereotype, marked by entitlement, aggression, and a lack of empathy, is not exclusive to Caucasian women. These behaviors are also prevalent among their male counterparts, who might be even more likely to benefit from societal privileges. When their perceived status is challenged, men often resort to aggression. Moreover, they have increasingly engaged in online behaviors such as trolling and leaving racial slurs, whilst hiding behind a cloak of anonymity, further extending the Karen stereotype into the digital realm. Entitlement, a key component of the Karen stereotype, often stems from a sense of privilege ingrained within certain segments of society. Historically, Caucasians have benefited from systemic advantages, including greater access to resources, opportunities, and social capital. This privilege can manifest in the form of entitlement, as some individuals come to expect preferential treatment based on their race. Amy Cooper, Central Park Karen. In May 2020, Amy Cooper, a European American, was captured on video in New York City's Central Park calling the police on Christian Cooper, no relation, an innocent birdwatcher, and falsely accusing him of threatening her. Her actions, which were seen as racially motivated, sparked outrage and resulted in her being fired from her job and facing charges of filing a false police report. A woman dubbed Barbecue Becky called the police on a group of African Americans having a barbecue in a park in Oakland, California. The incident, which was captured on video, drew widespread attention and criticism for what was perceived as racially motivated harassment. In 2018, a woman known as Permit Patty called the police on an 8-year-old black girl selling water outside her apartment building in San Francisco. The incident, also captured on video, highlighted issues of racial profiling and sparked debates about gentrification and the policing of minor infractions. A woman dubbed Corner Store Caroline falsely accused a 9-year-old black boy of groping her in a Brooklyn convenience store. The incident, which was later disproven by surveillance footage, drew attention to the harmful consequences of false accusations and racial bias. We've talked about the psychology of a Karen, but there's another layer to consider: the shifting global landscape. Traditionally, the West has held a position of power, and most Karens have built their self-esteem on that. Imagine a world where your group has always been on top. Maybe you benefit from a history of economic power, cultural influence, or perceived superiority. Now imagine that world starting to change. Developing nations are catching up with much improved education, infrastructure, and technology. This shift can be threatening to those who base their self-esteem on a bygone era of dominance. Here's where the Karen behavior might come in. If your sense of worth relies on putting others down, what happens when that power dynamic starts to shift? You might feel threatened, lash out, or try even harder to control situations. It's a vicious cycle. The more insecure you feel, the more you resort to Karen-like behavior, which ultimately causes other communities to disavow you. While the term Karen itself is relatively recent, and the stereotype associated with it primarily focuses on entitled and confrontational behavior, there have been other historical instances where individuals exhibiting similar behaviors have caused harm and death. The false accusations made by individuals fitting the Karen stereotype played pivotal roles in sparking two harrowing events in American history: the murder of Emmett Till and the destruction of Rosewood. In both cases, the entitlement and racial bias displayed by these individuals exacerbated existing tensions and contributed to catastrophic outcomes. Carolyn Bryant's unfounded accusation against Emmett Till for allegedly whistling at her incited a violent response from her husband and his accomplice, leading to Till's brutal murder. Similarly, Fannie Taylor's false claim of assault by a black man ignited a frenzy of racist violence in Rosewood, culminating in the massacre and destruction of the entire community. These tragic events demonstrate the dangerous consequences of Karen-like behavior, underscoring how entitlement, prejudice, and unchecked privilege can fuel systemic racism and inflict immeasurable harm on marginalized communities. Did you find this video helpful in understanding the psychology of Karens? Let me know in the comments below. Hit that button and subscribe for future updates.